Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about paraquat poisoning. So, paraquat is a quaternary ammonium and toxic chemical that is widely used as a herbicide, primarily for weed and grass control. It is a quick-acting, non-selective, and highly polar compound that destroys growing plant tissue on contact and by translocation within the plant. It is commonly found in herbicide as an aqueous 20% solution, glamazone, or 2.5% solution. Paraquat was first produced for commercial purpose in 1961. It is relatively inexpensive and hence contributes to its widespread use in many of the developing countries. Due to its widespread use, paraquat injections is one of the leading causes of fatal poisoning in Asia, Pacific nations, and the Americas. 93% of the fatalities result from intentional self-administration, or we call it as suicides, with an estimated 300,000 deaths occurring in the Asia-Pacific region alone each year. Unfortunately, there is no proven cure or antidote for paraquat poisoning. Hence, paraquat has been restricted in many parts of the world, such as United States, where it is only available for commercially licensed users. So how does paraquat poisoning actually happen? The most likely route of exposure to paraquat that would lead to poisoning is injections, and to a lesser extent via inhalation or cutaneous exposures through the skin or the eyes. The extent of poisoning caused by paraquat depends on a few of the factors, such as amount of paraquat, route of exposure, how long post injections to seek medical advice, the person's health condition, and the age of the patient at the time of exposure. When ingested, it causes direct damage when it comes into contact with the mucosal lining in the mouth, the stomach, and the intestine. Poisoning through the skin is possible when the skin is not intact, where the skin either has sores, cuts, or a severe rash. Poisoning is more likely to occur if the skin exposure lasts for a long period of time and involves a concentrated version of the paraquat. If it is inhaled, paraquat could cause poisoning leading to lung damage. So fatal poisoning could be due to hypoxemia secondary to lung fibrosis, multi-organ failure, or cardiovascular collapse within 1 week. Next, we'll look at the toxicokinetic profile of paraquat. So in terms of the absorption, paraquat is highly polar and corrosive substance. After skin exposure or inhalation, it is generally not absorbed in significant amounts. However, paraquat is absorbed rapidly, but incompletely for the gut post-injections, particularly for those concentrated solutions. Plasma level will peak within 1 hour after being ingested. The distribution of the paraquat is best described by a 3-compartmental open model with input to and elimination from the central compartment. The compartment with rapid uptake and removal of the paraquat, which is assumed to be the highly vascular tissues, such as the kidneys, while lungs have a slow uptake and reach maximum at approximately 4 to 5 hours after dosing. There is a steep decline in the plasma level due to rapid redistribution from the circulation to other compartments. It is rapidly distributed into other tissue with maximum tissue level reached about 6 hours after injections. Paraquat is actively taken out by the spermidine or purchasing and other cell membrane transporters, resulting in relatively high concentrations in the lungs, the kidneys, the liver, and the muscle cells. The volume of distribution is 1.2 to 1.6 liters per kilogram. And in terms of the metabolism, paraquat does not undergo significant metabolism. Elimination of paraquat is primarily by the kidneys, with most ingested paraquat appearing in the urine within 24 hours in minor poisoning. However, in severe paraquat poisoning, kidney function is greatly reduced, leading to much slower elimination. The apparent terminal elimination half-life can be up to 100 hours in patients with severe paraquat poisoning who do not die within 24 hours, where kidney function is largely diminished. So how does paraquat poisoning lead to multi-organ failure? After absorption, paraquat is concentrated inside many cells where it undergoes the redox cycling, a process involving a repetitive enzyme-mediated cycling between paraquat and its radicals. The byproduct of this process is superoxide radicals, a highly reactive oxygen species which can cause direct cellular damage or react further to form other reactive oxygen species and nitrate radicals. The redox cycling consumes NADPH, one of the cell's key antioxidant defenses. The resultant oxidative stress created by the production of free radicals and the depletion of NADPH directly cause cell damage via lipid peroxidation, mitochondrial dysfunction, necrosis, and apoptosis, and trigger a pronounced secondary inflammatory response. Over a period of hours to days, these processes lead to multi-organ failure. The organs most affected are those with high blood flow, oxygen tension, and energy requirement, in particular the lungs, the heart, kidneys, and liver. The brain is less commonly affected, as paraquat does not readily cross the blood-brain barrier, although paraquat has been detected in the cerebrospinal fluid. So after a person ingested a large amount of paraquat, he or she is likely to have pain and swelling of the mouth and throat. So patient will usually have pain with swallowing. Gastrointestinal symptoms are common, like nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Diarrhea may also occur and may become bloody. Severe GI symptoms may result in dehydrations like not enough fluid in the body, low blood pressure, and electrolyte abnormalities such as low level of sodium and potassium. Nosebleed and difficulty in breathing may also be present. Other types of exposure to paraquat include inhalation and topical exposure may lead to local irritations such as non-specific dermatitis, superficial burns may occur as well, and then corneal ulceration. So for cutaneous exposure, adverse systemic clinical outcomes do not occur in most cases, particularly if the exposure is on intact skin or mucosa of a brief duration and involve a low concentration or volume. And in case of life-threatening exposure, systemic features always overshadow any topical manifestation. In general, injections of large amount of paraquat leads to the following signs and symptoms within a few hours to a few days, like confusion, coma, liver failure, acute kidney failure, seizure, and possibly death. However, showing these signs and symptoms does not necessarily mean that a person has been exposed to paraquat. So these are the different phases of paraquat toxicity and the associated clinical effects for each phase. So for asymptomatic and mild toxicity, less than 20 mg per kilogram of paraquat is either being injected or exposed locally. So for local injections, patients might show signs and symptoms like nausea, emesis, diarrhea, and oliguria. And then renal and hepatic lesions are minimal or absent. For local exposure, patients might experience GI tract symptoms, dermal or ocular irritations. However, full recovery is likely in mild cases. For moderate to severe cases, if patient ingested 20 to 50 mg per kilogram of paraquat, emesis and diarrhea may be followed by generalized symptoms of systemic toxicity such as hypotension and tachycardia. Renal and hepatic failure may also be present. So pulmonary fibrosis may happen in this case and lead to death. For local exposure, other than the symptoms happen in mild cases, inflammation and ulceration of skin and mucous membrane may happen as well. Death may be delayed for about 2 to 4 weeks. Next, for patients who ingested or exposed to more than 40 to 55 mg per kilogram of paraquat is classified as severe and acute fulminant toxicity. Patients usually experience nausea, emesis, and diarrhea followed by multi-organ failure, including hepatic, renal, cardiac, and respiratory failure. However, patients usually do not survive long enough to demonstrate pulmonary fibrosis. For local exposure, other than the severe ulceration as in moderate to severe cases, esophageal perforation can occur within 2 to 3 days, and death usually happens within 24 hours. And one point to note is doses as low as 4 mg per kilogram can also cause death. So these pictures shows the mucosal ulceration from paraquat on the tongue, or we call it as paraquat tongue. And then lip ulceration is also possible from paraquat poisoning. So here is a list of investigation that can be done and the monitoring parameters. So for paraquat toxicity cases, we send gastric lavage or aspirate and urine for local hospital laboratory. Serum paraquat level can be sent to Jabatan Kimia, Malaysia, Negeri Sarawak in Bintulu. Urine for paraquat daily until it is negative for 2 consecutive days. We then also monitor for bills creatinine daily, calcium phosphate, red cells, and then liver function tests on alternate days, and then blood count, chest X-ray, ABG as well, and oxygen saturation monitoring for twice a day. And then dialysis different at the start of dialysis for paraquat if dialysis is to be performed. Then we also have strict input-output charting, and we inspect for the oral ulcer and then monitor for signs of acute respiratory distress syndrome, fluid overload, and pulmonary fibrosis regularly. So one of the tests that can be done is urine sodium dichromate test. Severe poisoning and poor prognosis is shown by the dark blue color, while mild poisoning is indicated by light blue color. The signs and symptoms of paraquat poisoning usually manifest within 12 hours, so patients should be monitored for at least this duration. However, a negative urinary dichromate test beyond 6 hours post-injection suggests that exposure was minimal and the patient can be medically cleared if asymptomatic. For the next few slides, we will discuss about the management of paraquat poisoning. Because injection is likely to be the primary route of exposure, so if poisoning is suspected, avoid any further injections and seek medical advice immediately. First, we will insert nasogastric tube early to prevent additional mucosal damage, and then we perform stomach washout as soon as possible. We administer about 300 ml of 15% filler earth suspension via NG tube as soon as possible, then 20 ml of filler earth every hour until the patient experiences diarrhea and passage of filler earth. Or we administer 50 grams that dose of the activated charcoal and then 25 grams per hourly for several days. We don't keep the filler earth in NGH, so we use the activated charcoal for now. Then we give the patient mist of 30 ml every 4 hours until diarrhea and passage of filler earth, or 200 ml of mannitol 20% set. We also give IV fluid, approximately 4 to 5 liters per day of NAS and D5 for the first 24 hours, and then approximately 3 liters per day orally or IV, subsequently for several days. If established renal failure, IV or oral fluid should be restricted. IV or oral potassium supplement may be given depending on the potassium level. Also give the IV or oral furosemide 40 mg BD for several days. And then HT hemodialysis or charcoal hemoperfusion may be useful and should be started within 5 to 7 hours of injection before distribution into tissues, especially the lungs. If history of paraquat injections or if positive urine paraquat or if any features of systemic paraquat toxicity involving the kidney, liver or lungs, so immunosuppression therapy should be initiated as soon as possible without waiting for the dialysis. So first, house therapy with IV methylprednisolone at 1 gram per day can be given for the first 3 days. So if patient is less than 40 kilogram or if liver impairment develops, we will use the 500 mg per day. So if methylprednisolone is not available upon diagnosis in district hospital, district medical officer could give IV hydrocortisone 200 mg step and then quickly send the patient to referral center for 3 days of IV methylprednisolone. So we look at the remarks column. Under the medication, the IV methylpred, I wrote there 3 days plus 3 days, right? That one means we can consider repeat the pulse therapy with methylprednisolone, 1 gram per day for another 3 days if the partial pressure oxygen was is less than 8 kilopascal or 60 millimeter of mercury. If the patient is deteriorating without any other explainable reason. And then for IV cyclophosphamide, we will give 15 mg per kilogram per day infusion over 4 hours in 500 ml NS for the first 2 days. And then we also have dose adjustment for this, the IV cyclophosphamide if renal impairment develops. And then we will discuss about the dose adjustment on the next slide. And then I remarked there 2 days plus 1 day. So that one means additional IV cyclophosphamide at 15 mg per kilogram per day for another 1 day. If renal function is normal but respiratory function gets worse. So 8 hours after IV methylprednisolone and IV cyclophosphamide, IV desferrioxamine over 4 hours single dose can be given. So the dose is 5 mg per kilogram up to 250 mg maximum. And then if patient develop renal failure or partial pressure of oxygen less than 10.7 kilopascal or 80 millimeter of mercury, then we will switch to IV or oral dexamethasone, 16 or 24 mg per day after the pulse methylprednisolone. And then we stop when the renal function improves and the partial pressure of oxygen is more than 10.7 kilopascal. And then also remember to watch out for the concurrent infection. Next, we will discuss about the role of methylprednisolone and cyclophosphamide in paraquat poisoning. So the methylprednisolone has a half-life of 3.5 hours and is 5 to 20% dialysable. So next IV methylprednisolone could ideally be brought earlier, that is with shorter interval if dialysis is to be performed. So cyclophosphamide has a half-life of 3 to 12 hours and is 20% to 50% dialysable. So the dose adjustment of IV cyclophosphamide is in the table. So for eGFR or creatinine clearance of less than 10 ml per minute, if patient undergo peritoneal dialysis, 75% of normal doses can be given. And then supplemental dose is given at 50% of dose post hemodialysis. For continuous renal replacement therapy, dose adjustment is not necessary and normal dose can be administered. Immunosuppression therapy with IV methotrexate and cyclophosphamide may counteract immune-mediated inflammation after paraquat poisoning. This improves the survival of patients with EGFR less than 50 ml per minute and white blood cell count more than 11,000 cells per microliter. A study demonstrated that the mortality rate decreased from 85.7 to 31.3% when the immunosuppressants are administered. So this proves that renal function and white blood cells are important survival predictors other than the amount of paraquat injected, serum paraquat level, patient age, and comorbidities. This explains that impaired renal function results in reduced renal clearance of paraquat and hence greater toxicity. A systemic review showed that immunosuppressive therapy with glucocorticoid and cyclophosphamide is effective in the management of lung injury in patients with severe paraquat poisoning. House methylprednisolone has been shown to suppress superoxide production by neutrophils and macrophages, and also formation of superoxide in the arachidonic acid cascade. So cyclophosphamide, a broad-spectrum immunomodulator, further reduces the severity of inflammation by affecting all components of cellular and humoral immune response. Hence, they are likely to reduce the mortality rate in severe paraquat poisoning. Next, we'll talk about dextrosamenine, and I'll call it as DFO. So for paraquat poisoning, iron acts as a catalyst in the production of hydroxy radicals. So DFO is an iron chelating agent which reduces the generation of hydroxy radicals. Iron has been shown to enhance paraquat toxicity in both bacteria and mice. However, no survival benefits have been shown in the rats poisoned with paraquat when treated with the DFO. And until now, no human studies have been done to look at the efficacy of DFO in treating paraquat poisoning. Should we give supplemental oxygen to patients with paraquat poisoning? So the answer is no, unless there is confirmed hypoxia, partial pressure oxygen falls below 60 millimeters of mercury, or for palliation where the patient is severely dyspnea. Why? So what is the reason that we can't give the supplemental oxygen to every patient? Because oxygen may exacerbate the oxygen-mediated cellular damage induced by redoxycycline and further increase the toxic effects on the lungs and worsen the pulmonary fibrosis. So we have to monitor the respiratory rate and pulse oximetry in patients with paraquat poisoning. So we avoid oxygen unless there is a clear evidence of hypoxia, as it will increase the toxicity risk. So good hydration is also vital to optimize renal clearance of paraquat, and remember to pay attention to fluid overload or electrolyte imbalance. In case of renal failure, IV or oral fluid should be restricted. New by mouth if there is oropharyngeal or esophageal injury. Allow liquid diet as soon as patient is able to tolerate orally, and then analgesic can be given to reduce pain from oral, esophageal, and abdominal crosses injuries. So if you think you have been exposed to liquid paraquat on your clothes or your body, first thing to do is to remove your clothing that has liquid paraquat on it immediately. So if you are helping other people to remove their clothing, then try to avoid touching any contaminated areas and remove the cloth as quickly as possible. So any cloth that has to be pulled over the head should be cut off the body instead of pulling it over the head. Then rapidly wash your entire body with large amount of salt and water. Washing with salt and water will help to protect people from any chemicals on the body. And if your eyes are burning or your vision is blurred, rinse your eyes with plain water for 10 to 15 minutes. If you are wearing contact lens, remove them and put them with the contaminated crops. So do not put the contact lens back in your eyes because even if they are not the disposable contact lens, if you wear the eyeglasses, you can wash them with soap and water and then put your glasses back after you wash them. So after cleaning yourself, cleanse and seal the contaminated cloths inside a plastic bag and avoid touching the contaminated area of the cloth. So if you can't avoid touching the contaminated areas, or if you are not sure where is the contaminated areas, then you can wear rubber gloves or use tongs or tool handles, stick or similar objects to help you. And then anything that touches the contaminated cloth should also be placed in the bag. Seal the plastic bag with contaminated cloths in another bag before being disposed. So how to prevent from paraquat poisoning? Try to avoid areas with paraquat or herbicides that are used widely. Wash all the produce thoroughly with clean water before consuming. And then consume only bottled water or other pre-packaged beverage in areas where paraquat is being used widely. And then if you believe food or drink has been in contact with paraquat, even if small amount, do not consume it. If you work with paraquat, make sure to read all chemical labels carefully and shower immediately after using the chemicals. So what are the possible complications from paraquat poisoning? If a person survives the toxic effect of paraquat poisoning, then long-term lung damage and scarring of the lungs or pulmonary fibrosis is highly likely. So this makes the person hard to breathe, and then other long-term effects may also occur, including lung failure, holes or burns in the esophagus, esophageal strictures, or scarring in the esophagus that makes the person difficult to swallow, and then inflammation and infection in the chest cavity, where vital organs and blood vessels may be affected. Kidney failure and heart failure may happen as well. So now we come to the conclusion. The outcome depends on how severe the exposure is, and some people may develop mild breathing-related symptoms and have a full recovery. Others may have permanent changes in their lungs, so the prognosis for patients with severe paraquat poisoning is often poor. Negative urinary dichronite test 6 hours post injection suggests that exposure was minimal and the patient can be medically cleared if asymptomatic. However, death may occur even if only 4 mg per kilogram of paraquat is being ingested. And no proven antidote or cure is currently available for paraquat poisoning. So preventative measures should be practiced and aggressive decontamination should be done as soon as possible post injections. Immunosuppression renders significantly higher survival rate. So that's all from me. Thanks for your attention.